with a veteran superstar and Johnny Benson in the third spot. 175 laps in at the line for the leader, Johnny Van Dorn.
Tim Steele comes to pit road in the 44 car. Not sure if they're making some adjustments over there. We'll see if he comes back on the racetrack. Van Dorn, the leader, up the backstretch. 3-4 car lengths over the 51 of Kyle Busch. About 8 or 9 car lengths back to the 21 of Johnny Benson. And then Chris Anthony rounding out the top 4.
Back in the number 6 spot. Watch Tim Steele in the 44. He's starting to pick up the pace. If you're Tyler Rohrig, you got to be careful here, because I think Steele might be out to pay a little back to the 14 car of Rohrig. Rohrig's starting to catch him on the backstretch going into 3. Hopefully nothing takes place. Don't want to see any retaliation here, but Steele is back up to speed. He's going to let Cole Powell go around him here shortly, and the next on the list to go around Steele would be Tyler Rohrig. So I'm sure the spotter's letting Rohrig know he's coming up on the Steele car. Those two made contact. Steele spun, did a 360, kept the race under green, and now those two drivers are about to be side by side again. On the front straightaway, Steele up the track in front of Rohrig. They go down into the turn. Steele runs them all the way up into the third lane, and just as I suspected, Steele was waiting on Tyler Rohrig. Griffin goes to the bottom on the backstretch as they catch Seth Moody, and you wonder why we're talking about drivers that aren't even on the lead lap, a couple of them. Well, it's because retaliation has taken place, and it could be something big happen if Tim Steele elects to take out the 14 car of Griffin or 14 car of Rohrig or the 4 of Griffin.
Now Steele will go to the high lane as Rohrig goes to the bottom there in 3 and 4. This is back off the lead lap. Van Dorn is the leader by 2 car lengths over Busch. Rohrig can't quite get underneath Steele as Steele has come back onto the racetrack after making some quick adjustments there. Was running real strong earlier tonight, now off the lead lap.
Johnny Van Dorn leads by 2 car lengths over Kyle Busch. They have pulled away from the 21 of Benson. Running in the 4th spot is Anthony. Running 5th is Van Heitzma. Those two drivers have made a lot of passes tonight to make it happen, and now Rohrig pulls alongside Steele back in the field as that battle between drivers and a bit of a feud continues. Go down into the 3rd turn. Steele's going to get into his right rear. He goes up the track, and now let's see if Rohrig can pull away from Steele to avoid being turned by the 44, who's still out for revenge.
Well, I think he made his point. Ran him up the racetrack, said he did appreciate whatever happened here earlier. That might be settled for tonight. We'll just have to watch later on. 183 laps in the books here. At some point here, you might think about the guys who are on the track running 6th, 7th, or 8th of taking tires if we have a caution here. Kyle Busch closing back in on Johnny Van Dorn, as is the 21 of Johnny Benson.
Terry Van Heitzma, Chris Anthony continue their side-by-side battle. The last 5 circuits, they've been side-by-side for the number 4 spot. Van Heitzma on the inside, Anthony on the outside. The 44 of Steele has gone pit side. Tim Steele on the 44 has gone to the pits. We'll see if he calls it tonight. He pulls into his pit stall. The crew looking at the car, not really doing anything frantically. The HS Dive Izzy CAD-CAM car has stopped on pit road. Brian Eichler makes a run at Tim DeVos. That would be for the number 6 position up ahead. Amazing 4th place battle between Van Heitzma and Anthony. Neither driver has been able to take that spot. And I think it's Van Heitzma moving forward now and does close the door on Anthony for 4th.
Now the 61 car, Johnny Van Dorn's really starting to back Kyle Busch up. He's gotten to the back bumper. He wants to go because he knows Johnny Benson's right there and coming. So it might just be a matter of time before Kyle Busch takes the lead back here. Or maybe he's waiting, wants to save his tires for the late stages. 187 laps go on the board. They're coming back to 188.
And Benson is closing rather quickly on that lead duo. Did Benson save enough of his stuff early in this run of the second half of the race to let those two leaders run their tires off? Again, Brian Campbell thought that they were racing pretty hard early in the second half.
Brian Campbell's observations might be exactly what we're talking about. Van Dorn comes back by, leads another lap. He's led the most here tonight as we continue to get closer to the final 50 laps here. And the 21 of Johnny Benson closes in one more time as Kyle Busch has himself a Johnny sandwich out there in 3 and 4.
Johnny Van Dorn running along the bottom. Busch just about a half car length lower in the groove than what the leader is. Busch is really liking that inside lane around Berlin, as he has been on the rear bumper of Van Dorn for the last 10 laps or so. Back 6 car lengths, make it 5. Entering turn 3 is Benson. Running 4th is Van Heitzma. Back 3 car lengths to the 5th place car of Anthony. Running in the number 6 spot is DeVos. Running 7th, the number 5 of Eichler. 8th is Elliott. 9th is the 37 car of Dahlke. And 10th is Thomas, 1 lap off the pace.
What a night this would be for Docky if he could walk out of here with a modified win in the top 10 as here comes Kyle Busch for the lead in one.
They went around Peter Cozzolino, and now Busch goes to the low side of Johnny Van Dorn for the lead. 61 of Van Dorn, high side. 51 of Busch, low side. They head into turn 3. Busch dive bombs turn 3. Goes to the lead. Here comes Van Dorn back to the bottom.
Kyle Busch, he'll have the spot and he'll pull away from Van Dorn as here comes Johnny Benson. He'll look high right away there. Couldn't quite get to the back bumper, but the 61 might be a sitting duck. Here comes Benson looking for the second spot.
I'm sure a lot of fans in the stands are thinking right now this race could be over, but Benson, he looks to be pretty strong in that retro paint scheme like we're watching ASA National Tour races some many years ago. But Benson in the third position, might be next to get around the 61 car of Van Dorn. We'll see how that plays out. Van Heisma looks good in fourth. He's pulled away from Anthony, who runs fifth.
I'll tell you, if we have a caution right now, everybody's coming. Maybe Kyle will stay out, but everybody wants the tires. They want to have a chance to chase down the 51. We'll have to see what happens here as we approach lap 200.
Perfect scenario for the top 5 cars that are all capable of winning. Even DeVos in 6th and Eichler in 7th. If this race stays green for another 20 or 30 laps, put a few more lap down. You've got 9 cars on the lead lap. Get it down to 6, maybe 5 cars on the lead lap, get a yellow, then you're really not out anything if you come to the pits. You're still going to have pretty good track position.
Kyle Busch out in front here at the Rowdy 251, the third edition of this race here at the Berlin Raceway in Michigan. Trying to take it 2 out of the first couple years of running it. I'll tell you, he didn't like how he ran the first time, and he had to call it the Rowdy's Revenge the next year. This year, it's just the Rowdy.
And again, that shows how hard it is to pick up on this racetrack. It's not just a track you can come to and be quick like Kyle Busch could be at just about any racetrack in the nation. And he continues to lead. He's closing on the 32 car of Ensing, ready to put him another lap down as lap 200 about to be put on the board. 199 complete for Busch at the line, and that beautiful number 51.
Tonight's distance, of course, 251 laps. I think it's the second longest race of the year for the CRA Super Series behind the Winchester 400. And it's been a dandy here tonight in Barn, Michigan. Great crowd on hand to watch this one. Want to thank you for braving the elements that we've had the last couple of days. You wanted to see some racing. We're showing it to you live. And, of course, all across the country and all across the world here on Speed 51 Radio.
And not very often do I get to correct the stat boy, but it's not the second longest race. It'd be probably at least the third because the Redbud 300.
Oh, yes.
Can't forget the Redbud. And we'll be bringing that action live here on Speed 51 later this season as well. Can't wait for that one. Boy, did we have a good race last year. It was the first one that I called with Bob Dillner here on Speed 51, and what a great race it was.
Scott Hance went to victory lane that night. Of course, Scott not here this weekend, or not here this week, prepping for Winchester, where he's the point leader in the CRA Super Series, opted to sit this one out.
He's looking for his 4th career CRA championship, and I think he's definitely the favorite to do it. He's got some good veteran competitors there with him. One of those, Jeff Lane, led the points until very recently, and then Lane got into the wall at the most recent event in CRA competition. We've completed lap 203. Kyle Busch leading the way, and Derek Griffin moves over to the bottom to allow Busch to go around him again.
Well, Busch went to the high lane and actually kind of lost a little bit of momentum, but now he'll take the high lane around the lap cars that come up off 3 and 4. He'll clear as they come down to the stripe. 204 laps will go into the books here as Kyle Busch driving off into the Michigan night.
Good racing action all night long. Thank goodness Mike Blackmer decided to use today as a rain date. The forecast didn't look good when we looked at it for today, but the rain all built up, most of it to the east of Marne, Michigan, and fortunately it did. We've had a big window on each side of us all evening. After a little bit of rain during practice time this afternoon, things have cleared up. It's a cool day, comfortable conditions, almost like a fall evening, despite it just the start of summer here in Marne.
Kyle Busch turning up the wick, starting to get away from the 61 of Johnny Van Dorn just a little bit. Johnny Benson slipping back a little bit there as the rest of the pack beginning to fade a little bit, single file through the top 6 or 7. Don't see any real hard chargers as Kyle Busch looking good out front.
Well, the 9 team, the Aaron's number 9 of Chase Elliott, missing something on the setup in the second half of the race. Not sure what the problem is. He really paced himself well to get into the top 5 in the first half of the event tonight after starting deep in the field. He started just inside the top 20 after a subpar qualifying effort. Elliott starting 18th had worked into the top 5 by the lap 126 mark, and then Elliott in the second half of the race has really faded. He's still on the lead lap in about the 8th position. He might be one of those drivers that we see if a yellow comes out, he will make a pit stop. Really has nothing to lose with only 9 guys or so on the lead lap. And continuing to lead is Kyle Busch. Busch goes into turn 3. The last car on the lead lap is Jordan Dahlke. He just crossed the line. So Busch is still just about half a track behind the last car on the lead lap. So it's going to be a while before he starts working into lead lap cars again. He has the 14 car of Tyler Rohrig next to go down the circuit, running about 10-15 car lengths ahead of him in turn 3. Elgin Trailer, Adam Mackey on the call of the play-by-play from the Rowdy 251, presented by Kaisersport City Racing here at Berlin Raceway. We had nearly 40 CRA Super Series cars here for a non-points race. Drivers from all across the United States making a show, and now Chris Anthony, after a long battle a little while ago for the 4th spot, he fell to 5th. Van Heidsma took it, and now he looks to take it back from Van Heidsma. Side by side on the front straightaway. Anthony on the bottom. Van Heidsma on the high side, and Tim DeVos, and a good run for him in the number 12 car tonight. Running in the 6th position right behind him, waiting for an opening. He might make it a 3-car battle for 4th. Pretty good racing action tonight in all of our competition. Our first race was a 15-lap last chance. Our second one, a USA Modified 50-lap thriller for Keith Beeching, the president of the USA Modifieds, and now CRA Super Series action. Tyler Rohrig in front of Kyle Busch. Rohrig slides up the track, and Busch has to go to the bottom. A scary moment for the leader, Kyle Busch. He's able to get by, and Rohrig, in a close call, nearly got caught up with the leader Busch down the front stretch and into the first turn. Van Dorn next to go around, as the flagman pointing Rohrig over to the bottom of the track to let the leaders go by. Van Dorn 10 car lengths back in second. Then about a straightaway back to the 3rd place car of Benson. Running in 4th is Van Heidsma. Anthony running in the 5th spot. Challenge to his inside coming from DeVos in the number 12. Running in 6th right now. And then running in 7th is Chase Elliott. Running in 8th, Jordan Dahlke. Running 9th, Brian Eichler. And he's our final car on the lead lap, Brian Eichler in the number 5. Green flag continues under competition here at Berlin Raceway. We had a huge green flag run to start the race tonight, nearly 80 laps of green, and this our longest green flag run in the second half of the race this evening. And it's allowed Kyle Busch to build up a sizable advantage on the rest of the field. He wouldn't mind if this race went green the rest of the way. It would save him any possible issues on a double file restart. Van Dorn still pretty stout, not losing a lot of ground at this point. Casalino running low side. Cole Powell running outside right in front of the leader Busch. He will close quickly. The closing rate on those 2 slower cars is very quick. Powell moves over to the inside. He's the only driver coming from Canada tonight. And Casalino, give him a shout out in qualifying. He was second on the time trial charts, and he led the qualifying list for a long time before Kyle Busch was able to take over.
Yeah, he got a little bagged up, and he's been able to ride that car now, but it looks like he's going to lose the lap here in the late stages. He goes to the low lane. Busch goes to the high lane to get around there. Johnny Van Dorn, does he have another push here with 30 laps to go? Well, we'll have to wait and see.
I think Van Dorn at this point could probably pace himself. He would be wise, because then if they do have a yellow, he might have a little bit left for Kyle Busch.
Oh, got a car. Looks like a flat tire on the 55. Is that Chris Anthony?
Yes,
with a flat
it's Chris
tire
Anthony. He needs a caution bad, and he might be the caution. Right front is down. Right front is down on the 55 car of Anthony. Sparks as he bottoms out down into the first turn. He's going to make the left turn onto pit road, and Chris Anthony's top 5 run is going to come to an end after coming from 25th up into the top 5 and into the top 4 even. Anthony has had to go to the pits. Green continues to be out in Kyle Busch's lead. Still sizable. But Van Dorn hasn't given him much ground in the last 10, 20 circuits. He's still within 10 car lengths in 3 and 4.
Tim DeVos will now move into the 5th spot. Chase Elliott will go up to 6th. Jordan Dahlke 7th with Brian Eichler 8th. Working the late stages of the Rowdy 251 here. Kyle out in front. But does Johnny Van Dorn have anything left for him?
If anybody has anything for him, it's Van Dorn. He is really quick. Those 2 drivers that Brian Campbell thought were setting qualifying lap speeds early in the second half still living up to those expectations as they continue with the big advantage over Benson He stayed with him for a little bit when they were battling for first and second when Van Dorn was leading, but he's really faded. He's in a comfortable third. In fourth is Van Heidsma, but a battle for fourth starts down in turn 3. Here comes Tim DeVos to the inside. He's going to be squeezed by the 4 car of Griffin, though, as Griffin goes to the bottom. That might block the 12 car of DeVos in, down in turns 1 and 2.
8th place car Brian Eichler goes down a lap. 7 cars remaining on the lead lap here. We had a caution now. They still got those tires, but we're starting to run out of laps to where you would even be able to gain anything here. 2:27 on the board.
The Coors Light, Fulton Pharmacy, Pioneer Construction, Chevrolet 55 of Chris Anthony after a pit stop has come back onto the raceway. He has changed the right front tire. He's several laps down, but back out on the speedway is Chris Anthony. Busch leads 228 laps in. Cole Powell off the pace in the 125 car. Powell might be making a trip down pit road. He went several laps down early in the race, but has stayed out there in competition, picked up a lot of spots in the process. We stay green. Big green flag run in the second half. It won't match what we saw in the first half with nearly the first 80 laps going caution-free with the whole field out there. Van Dorn caught in some slower traffic as the 5 of Eichler has gone down a lap. And Kyle Busch about ready to put Jordan Dahlke and the 9 of Chase Elliott down laps. Elliott runs in the 6th spot. So if he can get around those two and then a caution would come out, that would be a huge break for the drivers and maybe 4th, 5th drivers that could go to the pits and really not lose a lot of track position because they're already back there on the tail end of the lead lap. Still tires available if they want to make a pit stop under yellow as we get to about 20 circuits remaining. 20 laps to go. And a side-by-side battle in front of Busch as Elliott goes to the high side of Dahlke. The final 2 cars on the lead lap in a battle for the 6th spot. Dahlke had it at the line, the modified race winner. Boy, he's had a good run tonight. He was an additional starter, and Dahlke has moved nearly into the top 5 with a good run in the second half of the event tonight.
Man, Kyle's really putting it on him there now as we've only got 5 cars on the lead lap. Kyle gets away from the traffic there and sets his sights on the next one.
Boy, Van Heidsma, a good battle with DeVos. They continue to go at it side by side down the front straightaway. DeVos has moved up on the inside. It's a point of the race where I've seen the outside lane just seems to be as strong as the inside lane. In fact, we saw Kyle Busch take a lead on a restart via the outside lane a little while ago. And now we have just 5 cars remaining on the lead lap. Boy, would Van Heidsma, DeVos love to see a yellow here. They could come to the pits and not lose any track position. As they are the final 2. Van Heidsma off the track on the backstretch, goes down off of the banking in the grass.
Will he get back on?
He's trying.
Caution.
Caution is out, but that's going to hurt him. He's going to go a lap down. Van Heidsma, man, he needed a yellow, but he did not want to be the yellow. It's going to leave us with 4 on the lead lap before the lucky dog. Trying to see who the lucky dog could possibly be. It's going to be Dahlke. So I think Dahlke in the 37 will be the lucky dog and go into the number 5 position. Should leave us with 5 cars on the lead lap. 2:44 complete, make it 2:45 at the line. It'll be 6 laps remaining, 5 cars on the lead lap. Here we go.
Van Dorn with a good restart down into turn 1, but Kyle Busch gets a good one too. Clears the 61, goes the 51, and that might be all she wrote. Kyle Busch looking awful good down into 3 and 4.
Boy, Van Dorn is bottoming out heavy. He's got a tire going down on the 61 car. Bottoming out heavy, the 61 of Van Dorn. And he gets turned on the front stretch. Oh, look out, up into the turn, up into the wall. A couple of cars go. The 55 of Anthony, the 61 of Van Dorn. As we have a pile up in turn 1, it was Van Dorn off the pace in the 61 as he had, I think, a right front tire going down, and he collects some cars coming down the front stretch. Van Heidsma gets rolling again. Most heavily damaged going to be the 55 of Anthony and the 61 of Johnny Van Dorn. Kyle Busch and Tim DeVos ready to restart this at the front of the Rowdy 251 presented by Kaiser's Port City Racing. The green is back in the air, and we're side by side. DeVos spins the tires, and Busch goes into the lead.
DeVos goes right to the bottom trying to chase down the 51, but Kyle gets away into the Michigan night. Here comes Johnny Benson for second up the back straightaway. He's got it. Now he looks to close in on the 51 for the lead.
Wow, did Benson shoot like a rocket out of turn number 2, and he went around the 12 of DeVos quickly. This crowd would go wild if Benson could make it to victory lane. He's within 3 car lengths of Kyle Busch down the backstretch. Benson's exit of turn 2 was about the same as Busch. They go in. Benson drives in a little deeper. Middle of the corner. Busch has the advantage. And it's 2:48 with 3 to go at the line for Kyle Busch in the 51.
Johnny Benson would need to run 3 qualifiers, the best laps he's run all night, to run down the 51 of Kyle Busch, who's walking away with this thing. However, Benson closes in another time here as they come through 3 and 4.
Benson with that tire change on the last caution seems to have really helped him. 2 laps to go. That time by for Kyle Busch in the 51. The chief starter getting the white in hand. Benson has dropped back now to 7 car lengths in the rears of the 51 of Kyle Busch.
The distance back to Tim DeVos in the 3rd spot. Kyle Busch takes the white flag here in the Rowdy 251. Going to walk away with this one, it looks like, as Johnny Benson has one desperate attempt on the back straightaway. He's not going to be able to run down the lead as Kyle Busch hits 3 and 4.
Trying to make it 2 years in a row, and it looks like he will. From Las Vegas, Nevada, the Flexco. Busch Foundation Toyota. Kyle Busch the win tonight. 2nd to the 21 of Benson. 3rd to DeVos. 4th place across the line will be the 37 of Jordan Dahlke, as I'll head trackside. Elgin, take it away.
An amazing win here for Kyle Busch, the 51 car going to victory lane for the 2nd time in 3 years here. Johnny Benson gave it a whirl there at the end. They came in and got the tires, but Kyle Busch gets the win here as he comes down to the front stretch here. He wants that checkered flag, and the fans giving him the ovation here. Thank you for coming out to Berlin Raceway tonight. Brave the elements to see this great super late model race. The old 51 of Kyle, you know what he's going to do? He's going to get out and do that bow. That traditional bow that you see on Sunday, Saturday, and Friday nights in the NASCAR ranks. Got over 90 NASCAR wins in his career. And now he's got a 2nd late model win here as he's doing the donuts here on the front straightaway. Rowdy style here at the Berlin Raceway. Next year, we got to put him on the rear. See if he can do it from the back. Kyle's done it 2 years in a row now in his own event here at the Berlin Raceway in Martin, Michigan. Adam Mackey going pit side to help out with our post-race trackside now coverage. And all the coverage here is the fans giving it a ground. How about it for Kyle Busch in the 51, getting the win here tonight? Let him know you can hear it here as he gets out. Kyle Busch with the bow. Thanking you fans for coming out tonight for this one here at the Berlin Raceway. Busch wants that checkered flag. Didn't quite catch it, but still he's going to be waving it as he gets into the 51 car to take it over to victory lane, where Matt Duke Kenfield will be with post-race celebrations here. Johnny Benson comes home 2nd. Tim DeVos gets the 3rd place finish. 4th, Jordan Dahlke, after winning the modified race. Chase Elliott a lap down in 5th. Did not really have the best of nights for himself there, but still Elliott comes out of here with a top 5 finish. I want to thank all the fans for coming out and all the people listening on Speed 51 Radio all across the country and all around the world. I've heard them everywhere there. As Kyle Busch taking the checkered flag, he's going to victory lane, and he'll be talking to our Matt Duke Kenfield in just a matter of moments. Busch doing a little spin out, burn out in turn 1, bringing the checkered flag back around. As we're getting our staff, and be careful down there, folks, as we get the staff down towards victory lane. Busch will be headed there, 2nd year in 3 tries here at the Berlin Raceway. Looking out to the rest of the finishing order, Brian Eichler coming home 6th. Terry Van Heitzman will come home 7th. Tom Thomas will be 8th. Looks like the 9th spot, Derek Griffin comes back for a good run there. And Johnny Van Doren looks like he's going to get credited for 10th despite the wreck at the end of the race. It was kind of a rough one here tonight at the Berlin Raceway. Matt Duke Kenfield's going to be in victory lane, and it's going to be awful busy down there as Kyle Busch will be getting out. Of course, he'll get words with all 3 of the top finishers here on Speed 51 Radio. Folks, if we don't get to the finish here on Speed 51 Radio, check out our Trackside Now coverage on speed51.com. We'll get that up there. Of course, we've got a lot more action we got to do. We got to get in the car and head on down the road and go over to the ASA Midwest race in Wisconsin tomorrow. Long drive around the lake, but we'll have more action for you tomorrow night here on Speed 51 Radio. Matt Duke Kenfield's down there in victory lane. We're going to send it down to him as we're getting ready for Kyle to come out as the winner.
He's doing it.
Kyle Busch brings the Flexco Racing number 51 into victory lane. The KBM guys coming all the way from Mooresville, North Carolina to celebrate with him in victory lane here in Martin, Michigan. KB taking the helmet off, getting a refreshing drink